Chapter 10. Colby and Keely's twin flame love story. First meeting, claiming internal love, our first date, separation, lessons learned, finding our teachers, reconnection, the reunion, back to Massachusetts Union, back for good, living life together as one, the engagement, the big day, our hearts are fulfilled, Aspan, our lives are constantly expanding. Chapter 10. Colby and Keely's twin flame love story. First meeting February 2017. Colby. We wanted to open up, but we felt afraid. There was so much that could go wrong and so much that have gone wrong in the past. How could we suddenly fall in love and have a perfect life? How could all of our problems be solved in a moment? It made no sense, and yet there we were, looking each other in the eyes with the knowing that this is what we had been looking for our entire lives. We were both unsure of where this amazing person had come from. We met awkwardly behind the meat counter at our local grocery store. The next day, I noticed that I had an undeniable urge to be around her. I wanted to talk to her and get to know her. So, every chance I got, I was in her work area, doing her work for her. So, she had the space to share her life with me. We talked about everything: politics, spirituality, climate changes, music, our past and our current relationships, our childhoods. The conversation flowed as we caught the wave of our passion for each other. It was not long before our conversations began spilling over into the night. Keely offered to give me a ride home at the end of our shift, and I immediately accepted. This quickly became a trend. Keely. The walls around my heart melted instantly when he was around. Wow. He was very quickly and suddenly becoming my closest confidant. I was struck by how natural and easy our relationship felt. I could talk to Colby about anything and everything under the sun. No topic was off limit. Not even my passionate rant about gender and sexual equality could scare this man off. I was humbled. I could feel him stare right into my soul when we talked. We show everything about me, and that scared me a little. I tried to keep him at a distance, but Colby saw past my fear. He was persistent. I always knew when Colby was working. He wasn't afraid of being heard. His loud, becoming, booming voice could be heard echoing off the concrete walls. I couldn't get him out of my head, even if I tried. Something inside of me knew that my life would be forever changed by our relationship. Colby somehow sensed when I was done with work, even when I was not working in his department. He would search for me through the grocery aisles because he knew that I liked to do little shopping after my shift. When he found me, I tried to play it cool like I hadn't already been thinking about him. He started fearlessly into my eyes. He stared fearlessly into my eyes with complete focus. I had no choice but to surrender to his love. He was into me and it was mutual. Time stopped when we were together. The sounds and images around us blurred away as we spoke about our days, our favorite foods and drinks. Usually, a customer would ask him to assistance, and our conversation ended. I have make my way to check out with Colby's presence still on my mind. Colby. Every time I entered the meat department. I would check to see if Keely was there. She did the same. We were totally aware of what were occurring within each of us. We were just hesitant to admit it. As the month progressed, we both realized that our current relationship were doomed. I had a finance and 1 year old at home. I realized layers of shame, of guilt as I followed my heart to Kili. Nothing could convince me to let her go. Our relationship felt too good to pass up. Claiming eternal love, April 2017. Colby. Keely was the first person I felt completely accepted by. We shared the same interests, dreams, and outlook on life. She had everything I had ever wanted in a woman and more. She encouraged me to follow my dreams and spoke in ways that felt familiar. Over the weeks, my fiance sensed a shift in me. I was happy for the first time in a long while. I was finally saying no to misery and yes to love. Once she realized she could no longer control me, she left. Breaking up was the most compassionate things to do. We were not created as eternal lovers, and we both knew it. No matter how hard we tried, our relationships was not meant to last. Keely. I was having deep upset with the boyfriend I was living with. I started looking online for answers on how to save our failing relationships. That's when I come across twin flames. I remembered seeing twin flame videos the year before. I thought maybe we were twin flame. According to the videos, all I had to do was wait and eventually we he could come around. I gave him space while I focused more on my attention on myself and my own happiness. I did not want to wait for to feel good. As I continued loving myself, we barely saw each other. We were more like roommate than boyfriend girlfriend. I kept watching twin flame videos on YouTube, and one psychic assured me that by the end of the month my man would return. The end of the month rolled around and our relationship only felt rose. I realized that I had been holding into expectations of what I thought our relationship was. I choose to let my expectation go and love him unconditionally. I went all in and I claimed him. Our relationship felt even rose after that. My relationship with my friend Colby felt so much better. The more I loved and accepted myself unconditionally, the less my boyfriend wanted to be around me. Then it dawned on me I love myself more than my boyfriend loved me. I broke up with him that night and I chose to claim my true twin flame. I know he was out there. I didn't care who is what, who is was, but I didn't care who is I didn't care who it was, what body were in, and how old they were. All I wanted was to be in a healthy, loving relationship. I was done with the separation, Colby. I was eating my burrito. I was eating my burrito outside work on my lunch break when I saw Kelly walking my way. She had her work boots on with black jeans and her small black REI backpack. Her hair was tucked away under her beanie. She looked cute. As her eyes caught mine, her face lit up in a smile. She stopped at my table to talk. How are you? Keely asked. It's been interesting. I am letting go of a lot of fear these days, I replied. Keely looked at me inquisitively. She replied. How are you? I asked. I'm doing great. My boyfriend and I just broke up and I feel free. I realized how much I had been holding myself back from living my life. Gilly responded. Wow, fine, my fiance and I just broke up too. I replied with a big smile on my face. Oh wow, Killy said with a perplexed look on her face. Despite our attempts to maintain our relationship with people, they disintegrated at the same time. And now we were both available. It was time to make my move. Our first date, May 2017, Keys. I was working in the receiving dock when Colby showed up outside my office. I was listening to spiritual videos when he arrived. I blushed and pulled out my earbuds so I could hear him. We got to talking as we usually did, and the conversation turned to our future. My lease was up at the end of the month, and my plan was so quit my job. My plan was to quit my job and live off the money I had saved up until I figured something else out. You are never alone, Colby blurted out. His words hit me right in the heart. Tears began forming into my eyes. He meant that with his whole being. Thank you, I replied. That means a lot. It's true. If you ever need anything, I am here, Colby said. Time seemed to stop. Hey, Colby said with a glint in her eyes. Would you want to come over to my place and hang out? Before I could ever think, I said, "Yay, I have liked that." Colby's. When she arrived, was putting my daughter down for bed. Kelly patiently waited in the living room for me to finish. I was very happy to see her. I knew this was a big deal, and I was finally with a woman I really wanted. I invited her into the backyard. Quickly, I gathered wood and started a fire. The flames began to climb as we gazed into the fire. The dusk sky gently illuminated our faces as the sun sank below the horizon. The energy flowing through us was electrifying. We continued to converse as we had become accom- accom- accustomed to. There was no mistaking the connection that we were both feeling. Something deep within us both had awakened and was rearing its head. There was nothing we could do but continue to get closer. Keys. As the night progressed, could no longer deny my feelings for Colby. He was the one I had been looking for, and he had been right here all along. I read him his astrology chart and talked with him about spirituality. He looked at me with love in his eyes. That's when he leaned in and asked if he could kiss me. I said yes, despite my nervous. As our lips met, I felt a deep surge of energies rise within me. Our first kiss was electrifying yet peaceful. It just felt right. Fear began to clear from my system as I realized who Colby was to me. He was my twin flame. Colby looked at me with a grin on his face and asked if I had looked to go on a walk. I quickly agreed. We had hand we held hand as we walked the peaceful neighborhoods around his house. I gazed up at the stars twinkling above us. As we walked, Colby stopped at each tree and spoke to it. He would tell the tree how beautiful it was and how thankful he was for its presence in our lives. At first, I was a little embraced. I had never been with someone who was so unafraid to begin himself. I let my fear to begin scene go. I too shared a deep love for nature, and I thought his relationship with trees was endearing. He loved the trees and was not afraid to show it. The following week was pure bliss. We had stepped out of the leaves we knew and into another world. As we spent more time together, a sublime connection with the whole universe began to show itself. Day in and day out, we were together. We were floating on a cloud. Our troubles left far behind. We knew that this is where we wanted to be. We knew that we belonged together. By the end of the week, we were discussing how we were going to move in together. We had plans to start a healing retreat center. We would design the landscape using permaculture principles and have meditations and discussion to help with emotional trauma. It felt like everything was falling into place, but there was something essential missing. We didn't have the healing foundation we needed to manifest our dreams. Separation, June 2017, Keely. Then we returned the world we had knew before. We began interacting with the people whom we had relationship with. Colby's friends and family were wary of our connections. Fear began to show itself. Doubt began to creep into our minds, and we allowed it to fester. Was this just another too good be true? Tragic love story like all the rest, Colby. It doesn't really matter what it was that broke us apart. These specifics never really matter. All that matter is the choice between love and fear. In this moment, we choose fear. Despite all of the glory of our friendship and the depth of our feelings we had for each other, we broke up. Killy got in her car and drove away. And I chose not to fight for her. He allowed our dreams to slip away. We spoke for a brief period after Kelly left Portland for her hometown in Massachusetts. This didn't end well, as we believed we had fundamental schemes in beliefs. Schism. We did not walk. We did not talk for several months after. Keely. Choosing to leave my man was a absolute worst decision I have ever made. I was not aware of what this relationship really meant, and I accepted to treat it like any other relationship. I have deep compassion for myself here. I thought I could get over Colby by acting myself with a 3 month long road trip down the west coast. What I learned it what I learned is that I absolutely could not get him out of my heart and soul. I also learned that I could not stay mad at him. Lesson learned, August 2017, Kelly. The further I drove, the worse I felt mentally, physically, and emotionally. Eventually, my health condition was so bad and that I could barely do basic tasks. Living alone in my car was no longer an option. My parents offered to have me stay with them. I was relieved to have a stable place to stay where I could recover and get the medical help that I needed. Shortly upon arriving at my parents' house, Colby and I spoke again. After our phone call, I was hit with a wave of sadness as I realized how seemingly far away we were from one another. I felt empty inside. I know we needed to be together, but wasn't quite sure now. I was pointed to the elephant in the room, my physical health. I had depleted myself so severely over the last few months that my body felt really out of the sync. I could no longer digest my food without pain, bloating, and constipations for days. I started seeing a nutritionist and found out after taking on allergies test and I was allergic to almost of all the foods I was eating. I was afraid to food and feeling hopeless. I knew I needed to I needed to get my health in order if I were to go back the Portland be with Colby. The next several months consistent of me trying all sort of remedies for the pain like eliminating surgery, meat, dairy, all processed food. I began smoking medical cannabis several times a day to ease the pain, but soon realized that this was not the answer. I did not want to be.